47% of our waking hours are spent not focusing on what we're doing, but thinking about other things. Can you imagine if we were totally present in what we were doing instead? I am Gloria Grace Rand, founder of the Love Method and author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Live, Love, Engage: How to Stop Doubting Yourself and Start Being Yourself. In this podcast, we share practical advice from a spiritual perspective on how to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically, so you can create a life and business with more impact, influence, and income. Welcome to Live, Love, Engage. Namaste. Did you know that the average person spends 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they're doing? I mean, that's nearly half of our lives spent mentally elsewhere. Well, today we're going to explore how to reclaim that time and truly live fully in the present moment. But before we dive in, I want to welcome you to Live, Love, and Engage, especially if you are new to the podcast or the video on YouTube. I am Gloria Grace, and I help female entrepreneurs attract more clients with calm, clarity, and confidence by releasing negative thought patterns like self-doubt and poor self-worth. So at the end of every podcast, regular listeners will know this, but and you'll experience it today. Hopefully, if you're listening all the way through, I always encourage my listeners to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically. And we've so far covered in this podcast loving deeply and engaging authentically. And I will have links to those episodes, in fact, in the show notes today. But we're going to be focusing this time on the actually first pillar, which is, I've been working my way backwards. What can I say? So today we're focusing on living fully. And it's so easy to get, caught up in those day-to-day activities, living life, frankly, business owner, mom, wife, girlfriend, whatever, that sometimes we may defer our dreams that we have had. And that was certainly the case with me, because for a long time, I love to travel, and we've done a lot of traveling in the United States, but I wanted to be able to go to Europe. My mother had gone to Hungary when I was a kid because that's where my grandparents were born. My sister had taken a trip over there. My brother was in the Navy, and he saw lots of different places in the world. And then even my daughter, when she was just getting ready to go into high school, she was able to take a trip over to Europe with the People to People organization. So I, was starting to feel kind of left out. It's like, when is it going to be my turn? And finally, an opportunity arose, actually, because my daughter decided that she wanted to be able to work in Europe. She became a web designer, and she wanted to be able to do a lot of traveling in her 20s, and which I wholeheartedly endorsed, since I didn't do that myself in my 20s. And she said, well, I'm going to go to Hungary and to see if I can do that. And I was like, well, I'm coming with you, girl. So I finally did, in my late 50s, finally got that trip to go see the land of my ancestors. And I was able to even go visit the town where my grandfather was born, which was really cool, and it really started honing in on me the importance of not putting off things. I'm the only one left, in my immediate family now. My parents have passed on, my brother and sister have passed on, and I'm not getting any younger. I still have great intentions of living a long time, don't get me wrong. And I need to start doing some of that, doing some of that living. And that's really what this is about today, that I really want to focus on. And so, one of the things one of my favorite quotes of all time, which is perfect for today about this, is from Napoleon Hill. And he says, "Do not wait. The time will never be just right." And that's so true because it really is, you just can't wait. I mean, sometimes, okay, practically speaking, sometimes you do have to wait, but you don't have to wait forever. I guess that's my point. And you can start from where you are, and even starting from where you are is just living right now in the present moment. You know, w- uh, my f- one of the first books that I ever read that sort of started me on my spiritual journey was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And if you haven't read this book, basically the premise is that every minute you spend worrying about the future or regretting the past is a minute lost, because the only place you can truly live is in the present, and that is right now. So how can you make this moment the best moment of your life right now? And even if you're working in a job right now, how can you make that moment worthwhile, where you can really put yourself 100% into it? As I mentioned at the outset of today's podcast, I mean, 47% of our waking hours are spent not focusing on what we're doing, but thinking about other things. Can you imagine if we were totally present in what we were doing instead? Now, granted, okay, 53%, I guess, is doing that, but let's make that, that should be more like 100%, or at least 90% should be focused in on what we're doing right now. And it's, of course, being in the present is important for our business. It's important, but it's also important in our personal lives. We really need to, seize the day, carpe diem, and make the most of what's going on right now, no matter what you're doing. And case in point, I'll share another example from my personal life. So a couple of years ago, I was going to be turning 60. So now you know how old I am. Okay, so I was going to be turning 60, and I wanted to do something for my birthday. I wanted to do something special. And 5 years earlier, I had the good fortune of being able to go on a women's retreat. I spent the weekend in North Carolina, and it was wonderful, and I just so enjoyed that. Well, there weren't any opportunities like that available to me that I was aware of, certainly. And this was in the summer when I was thinking about this. And I remember it. It was like, I think it was even a rainy day, maybe. And I was sitting in the living room. I had my cat on my lap. And all of a sudden it just came to me. It's like, why don't you do your own retreat? And this has been something that's been in the back of my mind for years. In fact, I had bought a domain name called Unplug to Recharge years ago and never used it. It was just sitting there. If you're an entrepreneur and you like domain names, you probably own a few of them, and not all of them are in use. Maybe you're waiting for them to be, for that time to be right to use them. And so I finally decided that, yeah, you know what? Let me see. And I started thinking about, what I could do at the retreat. I thought I could, share light language, maybe do some oracle card readings. I looked to see when my birthday fell, and it was near the weekend, and there was going to be a full moon. I was like, ooh, that sounds good. I bet we could do some sort of full moon ritual. So what I did next was I sent out an email and I said, okay, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Would you be interested in attending something like this? And I got back some positive responses. And I'm like, okay, well, that gave me the green light to just really move on and start planning this retreat. And within 3 months, it happened. And I was so grateful for the people who showed up for that retreat. It was a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and they even were so kind and gave me a little birthday. We had a little birthday party on Saturday night for me, and it was wonderful. I should have put some pictures up for that. Darn it! Oh well, maybe I'll put them in the video when the video shows up on YouTube. Maybe I'll do that. But my point is that I finally decided to seize the day and go ahead and not wait for somebody else to throw me a party, which I really didn't see was going to happen. I mean, my kids don't even live in town, so they wouldn't be able to do that for me. And I decided to just do it myself. So uh, let me give you some practical tips on what does it mean? How can we do this? I mean, I think I've given you some hints already, um, but about really living fully in the moment, and some things that you can do to help you do that. I mean, number one, I think, is to just start being mindful about it. Just really be mindful and say, okay, this is what I'm choosing to do. And it's about identifying what it is that you want to do. What are your dreams? What have you been putting off? Even it might even be something as simple as maybe it's just a day trip you want to go. Maybe you want to explore your neighborhood where you live, the state that you live in, or the country where you live, because I know we are Live, Love, Engage is actually heard around the world in many different countries. Take some time, take the weekend and go do something fun. Be spontaneous and do something different. Maybe you've always wanted to go to an art museum, or maybe you always wanted to paint. Just figure out, maybe make a list of things. Make a list of things that you've always wanted to do, and just start checking them off your list and start doing them. Because again, life is short. I've learned this. I'm sure you all have had the experience of losing someone you love, and you don't want to end up on your deathbed having a bunch of regrets. Ooh, which reminds me, I had a wonderful podcast guest on. I don't remember if it was early this year. I think it might have been last year. I will include the link to this in the show notes as well. Her name is Jody Wellman, and she talks about something called, she wrote a book, actually. Yeah, I believe it's a book called 4,000 Mondays, or she has a whole program, whatever. Anyway, her point is that we have person has an average of 4,000 Mondays in their life. And I mean, you think about that. That's 4,000 is not very many, really, when you come to think about it. So what are you doing? How are you making the most of your life? And yeah, she has this thing called memento mori, which I forget exactly what it means. Google it. Better yet, check out the podcast episode or the YouTube video. It's on YouTube as well, and you'll find it. But it's so important. And again, sometimes it just requires taking some baby steps. Again, let's say you have a big dream, like I had, to go to Europe. Well, you can start taking steps towards that, and to be able to accomplish it, you can start setting aside money or start planning where you're going to go and things like that. And at the same time, you can still be, yeah, I'm realizing it's like I sort of have two concepts going here. So you've got living fully in the moment right now, but also living fully in your life in general. And that involves doing things that you love, doing things that make you happy. It could be something simple as just spending time with your kids, your grandchildren, your pets, and planning for maybe bigger adventures with them, or by yourself, or with your significant other. But take the time to think about every day, spend every day just really every moment, just making the most of every moment. So if you are doing some work right now, put your whole self into that work and do the best that you can on it. And it might even be something like doing the dishes. You could be mindfully washing dishes. You could also listen to music while you're washing the dishes. I sometimes like to do that, because it makes the chore go faster when I'm listening to, happy music. And that's a way to be living fully in the moment. It's about doing things that give you joy, giving things that make you happy. Also, and I'm thinking about this too, sometimes it is about being there for someone else. Sometimes living fully is being a supportive friend, being a supportive loved one, living fully with them in their moment. If they are going through, let's say, a health challenge, perhaps, or they're grieving someone. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be something light and happy, although I think we all want that in our lives. Sometimes it's just about being peaceful. So when you're meditating, that's something that I love to do, something that I always encourage my clients to do as a way to strengthen your connection to your higher self. When you're meditating, that's another way to actually live fully, because you are being you're attempting to be really present in that moment. So, and if you're breathing, you're living. So, right? So just doing that is how we can do this. Let's see. Some obstacles that may come up for you when you are trying to live fully, or, well, as Yoda would say, there is no try, there is only do. So as you are living fully, you've set that intention, I'm going to live fully in this moment. What things can come up for you? Self-doubt, judgment. Maybe financial concerns might come up, things like this. And again, it's about tackling things one step at a time. It is relying on your higher power, whatever you believe in, to support you. And knowing that this too shall pass, if you're having some type of issue that is keeping you from really living as fully as you would like to, just trust that this will pass. And sometimes it's about setting a goal, setting a big goal, and then figuring out the little steps that are going to take you there. And each step that you take, being truly mindful in that step, and with your eyes on the prize of what you want to accomplish. And I will tell you, one of the things, a couple of the strategies that, and I know I've talked about this on the podcast before, things that have helped me in my own spiritual journey and my own growth as a human being, is to spend time not only in meditation, but also journaling. And there was something else I was going to say there, and I lost my train of thought, but you know what? It's okay. Let me check my notes here and see if there's something else about it. Oh, I don't know. Oh, well, whatever. Anyway, it's okay. Point being, you can live fully wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whenever you are. It just requires, number one, setting an intention. Oh, I remember. Yes, I was talking about meditation and journaling, visualizing. So let's say that you do have a goal that you want to achieve, something that you want to do. So part of living fully can be visualizing it. We just got done having the Olympics. So when this podcast is going out, we were just finished up the 2024 Summer Olympics. And successful athletes, all of those Olympians, I guarantee you, have visualized setting a record or finishing, or frankly, seeing themselves standing on the podium with that medal around their neck. And when I was planning my retreat, I visualized the end of the retreat. I visualized driving home from the retreat, so happy and satisfied that everyone had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time, that it was just this best event. And when the retreat was over and I was driving home on the freeway, it suddenly occurred to me, holy moly, this is what I visualized. And I spent a couple months doing this every day. I was visualizing that. So, the power of the mind, you see it, believe it, it becomes reality. So again, I know I'm sort of combining a couple different things here, but the overall theory to this is to don't waste your time. Don't wait. Live fully in the moment. Have goals of whatever it is that you want to accomplish, but also don't ignore the moment we're in right now, because this just occurred to me. So this can be a trap that you could fall into, is because let's say you do have this big goal and you're focused on that. And this happens to entrepreneurs too, in particular, if you're growing your business and maybe you've just started your business and you wind up spending all of your time and energy in growing the business at the expense of your personal life. So that's not living fully. Yes, you're living fully in your business, but you're not living fully in your life. And so that's where you have to bring the two into harmony, where you can live fully in each moment of your life, of your business. Take them moment by moment. And, you spend all your attention on that, but then you also spend time on the other things in your life that you value. So it might require taking a look at, what is it I value? What do I want to spend the time on doing right now? And figuring that out, and then dedicating that time for those activities. Okay. I think I made my point. I hope so. I guess I'll find out. So you can let me know what you think about this. But one last thing I'm going to share with you today before we start wrapping things up is one of my favorite modalities that I use for helping me to live fully in the moment. And it's to help me with clarity and confidence. And I also share this with clients as well, helping them to be more in tune with their higher power, to have more clarity, have more confidence. And that is to share light language. And for those of you who may be new to the podcast, you don't know what that is, I'm just going to give you the short version of it. You can go look for previous episodes where I talk about this, but essentially light language is a form of communication that speaks to your soul, speaks to your heart. It's, I speak it, I sing it, and it's not necessarily anything that your right side brain, I think. Yes, your your logical brain. Let's just say that your logical brain may not necessarily be able to translate it, and you're going to go, it sounds like language, but I don't quite get it. It's a foreign language to me. I don't understand it. Don't worry about that. Your heart understands it. That's what the important part. And ultimately, what it is, it contains frequencies. It's energy. It's love. At its core, it's just love. So I love to share this with you. And what I always ask you to do is to set an intention that the message you're going to receive will be for your soul's highest good and the highest good of all concerned. And if you also want to set an intention to start living more fully in the moment, and let that be something that this message that I share with you today will help you with. So if you are driving while you're listening to this podcast, I encourage you to put this podcast on pause, come back to it when you can be seated in a chair, quiet, maybe listen to the podcast with headphones on, which would be good too. And just allow the sounds to wash through you. And and that's pretty much it. So I invite you to do that right now. Just kind of relax, close your eyes if you like, take a deep breath, let it out. And again, I'm setting that intention that what comes out will be for your highest good, your soul's highest good, to help you to live fully in the moment, every moment of your life. Gloria no que hua to 𝙏𝙞𝙧𝙚, 𝙗𝙪𝙩𝙾 soko naki ha, 𝙗𝙬𝙧𝙪 kagyoku ehiane, akoyo to no ake, onakalyo. Kaya kokoyate onso kayona ekako ahuakaya no eka asoku ikayo ohuyano ahuaka soku kahiyano ko kahue kaya Tuhan. If you enjoyed that and you would ever like to have a private session with me, I do offer those. So you can certainly go to 𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙚.com, contact me. You can actually just go to my website, frankly, GloriaRand.com, and you'll see a way to be able to schedule a light language session with me. But I would love to do that for you. And let's see, I think just about done. We're just about wrapping it up. And I've got one other little thing I want to share with you today, because if you have been enjoying this podcast, if you've gotten some value out of it today, if you're a regular subscriber, especially, I appreciate you. And what you can do is you can vote for Live, Love, Engage in the Women in Podcasting Awards in the mindset category in particular, because that is what we have been nominated in. And the voting goes between now and October 1st of 2024. So you can go to womeninpodcasting.net/awards, and you'll be able to vote. You'll look for, like I said, look for the category of mindset. And when you do, then you will be able to scroll down a little bit, look for Live, Love, Engage, and give us your vote. And I would greatly appreciate that. So thank you in advance. And I will have that in the show notes as well, so don't worry. So I guess, yeah, that is going to do it. So thank you so much for listening, for watching, and until next time, as I mentioned at the beginning, I invite you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.